Presented by Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 and use the promo code WELCOME. Welcome to Light Years. Day 9. Actually, to be honest, could call it day 10 because technically free agency started on the 30th of June, not the 1st of December. The balls are very blue right now. There's no other way around it right now. There's just nothing going on, I feel like a skeleton sitting in the chair.
Yeah, I mean it's all pretty accurate.
Pick your analogy for inaction. We can keep going.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to go there yet. I might need to crack a beer to do that first. But yeah, it's an interesting time. The Warriors are still the only team in the NBA that has not made any type of move in free agency. So there's not much to speak of in terms of moves. I think we've heard like maybe little rumblings, but like definitely nothing substantial. We hear a little bit of something every day, but
admiring the player.
Yeah, admiring the player, engaging the player, flirting. That's all we're doing.
What's funny is like obviously I'm excited to go to Summer League because I genuinely enjoy Summer League. I enjoy seeing people I see maybe once a year. You see you there at Summer League. I actually saw you a month ago. So is it, more than once a year in your case, but there's a lot of people I see in the NBA space, the pod sphere, whatever it may be, who I only see once a year at Summer League. It's a really fun, relaxed vibe. I would honestly recommend anyone who's an NBA fan to go at least once. But so it's like, like when you're getting ready for a trip, everyone starts texting a couple days in advance. Like, hey, you going?
Yeah.
Hey, what you got going on Friday night? When are you going to be there? Like that sort of thing. It gets you kind of like a little more excited. Yep. The follow-up text with everyone I talk to is like, what are the Warriors up to? They got to be up to something, right? Like, it's just like that type of atmosphere. And it's not like unique to just like my circle of people I talk to. It's like, you see it with like the big national reporters. You see like Slater and Amick and those people. You see on Twitter everywhere. Everyone's got this idea that the Warriors are up to something, and maybe they are because that's the only rational explanation for their lack of action at this point. But it's like it's not just a little like niche 2 online Warrior nerd thing now. Like, this is, if you're an NBA fan, you're like, yeah, man, like KD went to the Rockets. All these players sign extensions, not a lot of free agency movement. And what the fuck are the Warriors doing? Yeah, like, that's like kind of what everyone's saying.
That's the summary of free agency for sure. And, it feels like we're just, and this is maybe me being a little bit glass half full, maybe me being the optimist. It feels like we are waiting on the first domino to fall. And then it's going to be like, all of a sudden 3 or 4 players have essentially signed or been traded to the Warriors, right? It feels like whatever that first domino is, and it feels like the Kuminga move, whatever that ends up being, whether it ends up being him coming back or him going out in a sign and trade and bringing a player back, or him, just ending up picks or coming back, and then they can open up more cap space or more cap space mechanisms, like you kind of talked about on the last pod. It feels like we're just kind of waiting for the Kuminga domino, and then they do have other things lined up, and maybe Al Horford retires. I feel like if he was going to retire, we would have heard by now. You know what I mean? Like, almost in a way, the longer this goes without Horford retiring, it's actually better for the Warriors. Because if he was going to retire, I feel like he just would have pulled the trigger at this point. Like, what is he waiting around for? And that also leads me to think that there's maybe he's not taking the TPMLE and they're working out something that's a little bit more creative.
There's a promise. There's a promise
right
out there.
There's a promise of some type. And maybe that's me just being glass half full, but it is ridiculous that they haven't done anything. I mean, just figure it out. I don't know what to say at this point.
The interesting thing to me is I was looking at the list of available free agents, and then look, it's not 2010 with like prime LeBron, Wade, Bosh, like Amari, whatever it was, but like there's a lot of players sitting on the market who I would not consider end of free agency camp invite types.
No.
Like guys who are clear contract players. I'm going to put the restricted free agents aside because we know it's complicated.
Sure.
Like Chris Boucher, that is an NBA rotation big. He might be a expensive one, but he's not a guy who's waiting till September to get a camp invite. I'm gonna keep going on the list. Malcolm Brogdon, clear NBA player. GP2, clear NBA player. Trey Lyles, clear NBA player. Malik Beasley, okay.
Let's
Might
not
need to
touch
stay
that
out of
one.
prison. But Russell Westbrook, clear NBA player. DeAnthony Melton, clear NBA player. I mean, there are guys who
Amir Coffee, same thing.
Yeah, these are guys who, like, I'm not saying they're getting big money. I'm saying, like, if free agency is moving right now, these would be guys signing, you'd see like 2 years, 10 million, like that type of thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
And instead it feels like there's been no signings for multiple days, which leads me to believe something is going on. And you know what? Odds are it's something I don't like, but it's something, so.
Yeah, I do wonder why it's all just kind of come to a halt. Because like you just said, you just named what, 8, 9 guys, and there's probably a couple more that we're not looking at here that are like legitimate NBA players. Like you said, they're not camp signings. They're not waiting for a 2-way. They're not waiting for a 10-day or like an exhibit 10, whatever mechanism you can use to get guys into camp. We're not waiting for those, like these are guys who were in NBA rotations last year. They were in like NBA playoff rotations last year. Amir Coffey got playoff minutes. Obviously Russell Westbrook did. Precious Achiuwa got playoff minutes. Like these are all guys. Gary Payton, obviously. Trey Lyles has had good playoffs.
Even if they're like 8th, 9th men, 8th, 9th men are real NBA players. We're not talking about like Jason Kapono's looking to make a comeback. He's been to Warrior camp like 3 times. Shout out Bob Myers.
What a pull right there, Jason Kapono. I haven't heard that one since like 2015. No, but I think you're spot on with that. But I wonder what everybody's waiting for, because it's not like these other teams have to wait for the Warriors to make a move. Like the Warriors aren't that important in the grand scheme of things here, but maybe like the Warriors are tying up all these other teams that do want to make moves. Like maybe that's why the Bulls are waiting on Giddey, because the Warriors are having conversations with the Bulls. And again, a lot of this is me coping and redirecting my energy to positivity instead of like coming on the podcast and just railing on the front office for an hour, because who wants to do that? I think everybody should know what my feelings on the front office are at this point, especially if we don't get anything done this summer. But it is just, I don't know how else to term it besides weird. Like, why are all these solid players just still sitting there waiting for somebody to pick them up?
The positive way to read it, not even if positive is the right word, but like the positive way to read it is new CBA, new landscape. You cannot compare the way movement happened 2 years ago to the way movement is going to happen this summer, maybe next summer. Maybe this is the new normal. Maybe the new normal is this free agency period is more of a long, drawn out process where it really does take all of July and halfway into August. Maybe that's what is going on. Maybe that's the reality of it. The pessimist take with it is, I don't know, a lot of teams got business done early. So
yeah,
if you're out here trying to get business done when like 2/3 of the league is already content with their roster, you're probably in a bad spot.
Yeah, but I mean, if
it's one or the other,
it totally is. And like maybe a lot of these teams already do have full rosters. They acquired players through trade, or like they got their signings done early. But that actually kind of, like, looking at this list, that actually kind of bodes well for the Warriors. Like if you're telling me we end up with Horford, Kuminga situation, whatever, maybe they end up with Kuminga. Let's just say it's either Kuminga or not, something like just a rotation player back, not like any of the big names we named before, like a Kobe White or whoever, just a nice rotation player. Then you bring in, like, somehow you get Trey Lyles and Amir Coffey, you get all these guys to agree to minimums. Like there are still good names out there. If you can convince a couple of these guys, you can have a nice deep team. It's going to be a little bit maybe older than we expected, but you still have like a nice deep team of like 10, 11, maybe 12 guys that you can get through the regular season with.
Yeah, maybe. And so like that's kind of the thing I'm looking forward to most at Summer League. First is just like conversing with people, seeing what happened. It does seem like Summer League for once, like there's going to be business going on in it, as opposed to the last few Summer Leagues. This is all done. Summer League is purely about seeing the rookies, and like, don't get me wrong, I want to watch Cooper Flag. I'm excited to see what that looks like, but like it's less about movement. Now it might actually be, I mean, we've heard Kuminga's agent is going to take meetings, the decision 2.0.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of
1.5. He doesn't get a full number. This is the decision 1.5.
He'll be taking meetings, teams who are like, well, I didn't want to sign him, but I was wowed by a 30-minute meeting, and now here's $200 million.
And a workout in a hangar in Las Vegas, in a hangar gym in Las Vegas. Like I just can't believe, I don't know. I just feel like nothing's going to materialize for him at this point, and like I do.
Well,
I do kind of feel bad for the kid. Like, honestly, like they kind of misplayed their hand, as everybody has in this situation. And it's like
I'm not feeling bad for anyone whose backup option is $8 million next year. Sorry,
I mean,
I'm over. I'm over it. I'm over this is such an internet thing where people fucking love to be like, it's his career. He's leaving money on the table. It's like, brother, he's already made $30 million. If he blew it, he's a fucking idiot. That's his fault. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Do you see yourself at any point making $8 million in a calendar year?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, I do.
Nice. I love the confidence. I love the confidence. It's become such an internet thing over the last decade where I refuse. Like, I refuse when like everyone is out here like trying to grind tape to pay their bills. That we're sitting here crying about a guy getting 20 instead of 30 million. You know what I'm saying?
Don't get me wrong. I'm not crying. There's no tears coming down my face for Jonathan Kuminga. I just think
about to send out a tweet and get 32 likes because I'm empathetic.
I have so much empathy. No, it's more just like I just feel like he got bad advice. Take the money when it's on the table, man. Like, okay, you're not going to get last summer. You're not getting Franz Wagner money. I don't know what the Warriors' official offer was. I don't think anybody really does. It was reported that Kuminga wanted $150 million or $30 million a year over 5 years. Let's say the Warriors offered $480, $400. Let's just throw it a ballpark number out there.
I think 400 is like you combined all the things leaked. That's probably a very good educated guess.
Right. Exactly. And so like they said, oh, that's not enough. It's not close to what the other guys in this class got. So what? You take 4,100 when you're 21 years old, that kicks in when you're 22. You're hitting free agency again at 26 years old after already making 130 million in career earnings. Like, you need better advice than that. I'm sorry. Like, I would be looking at my representation again. And like, I don't have anything against whoever his representation is. And I'm just saying from his personal standpoint, I would be reevaluating a lot of things after these last 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, I don't say it's unprecedented, but it's a weird quirk of the new CBA. I mean, sure. Draymond we talked about in the last pod.
Mm-hmm.
You have to read the market before you hardline. You have to kind of be realistic with yourself about what's out there. I said it yesterday, but I'll repeat it again. For all the shit Draymond gets for his lack of self-awareness, he's very self-aware of his status in the league. Mm-hmm. With the respect to, he's always been the third or fourth highest paid player on a team. He hasn't pushed for I deserve a max. You guys can't win without me. And there were times he could absolutely have played that card, but he's just kind of looking at it as like, look, man, if I leave the Warriors, the most I can get is this. So if I can get the Warriors to this, I'm happy. Like it's kind of like a realist. It's it's the opposite of kind of like Clay, who was going off of like, how can you do that to me? Right. Who I am, like what I've done for this franchise. And ego gets into it, and that's just kind of human nature. But
yeah, I mean, you've never heard anything about a Draymond contract dispute. It's more just like, oh, he's up for extension, or like he's going to be a free agent and we're worried we might lose him. But you've never heard like, oh, he's putting his foot in the ground at this number. They can't meet his number. And now we've got all these kind of issues. He's like you said, he's been very aware about like his place in the league. Like, at the end of the day, like Draymond has his warts. We all are very aware of those, but he is a very smart guy and he's very perceptive. His emotions and his attitude just get the best of him sometimes, as happens to us all, but he's got like an extreme version of that.
He knows there's not max money for his skill set. He's looking at it. I think he's one of those guys who, if you get him off the cuff, he'd be like, I'm more valuable than most of the scorers in this league. Sure. Or at least in my prime, I was. And he probably was. There's like, I'd rather have Draymond than a bunch of B-list scorers in this league. Yeah. But there's also the other side to him, which is like, for my skill set, this is probably the high end of what I can get, and I'm gonna do it. It's like almost like a football player mentality, like this has always been weird to me where like George Kittle's the best tight end in the NFL right now. He's if he was a wide receiver, he'd be the 19th highest paid wide receiver. And there's like this whole thing in my head. I was like, you can't tell me like the 16th best wide receiver is better than him.
George
He's
Pickens.
way exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Like he matters more to winning games than that guy. Like it's one thing you're talking about like Justin Jefferson. I get it, but you're talking about like Debo, for example, makes more money than him, and Debo's been kind of washed for a minute now. Ayuk makes more money than him. He's better than Ayuk, like those sort of things, right? Yeah. But like in football, there's just kind of the understanding of my I compare myself to my peers, and my peers are not the wide receivers. My peers are Travis Kelce. My peers, TJ Hawkinson, like the tight end. So whatever the highest paid tight end is, I want that guy plus $1, right? Yeah. And maybe that's the wrong way to do it, but like that's kind of how that league does it. And I feel like Draymond's always had that mentality where he gets, you can tell part of the reason he gets annoyed by Gobert is because he's like,
come on.
That guy, like we're the same kind of guy. Our job is to quarterback the defense and be role players on offense. And I'm better at it than him. And he gets more money than me. Like that bothers him. That bothers him more than like Devin Booker getting whatever, like ungodly amount of money he got tonight. Because he knows in his head, we don't do the same thing. The market for guys like me is not the same as the market for guys like him.
Yeah. And I mean, that's interesting because I was listening to, did you ever listen to the Pablo Torre Finds Out episode about what Poole said to Draymond? Did you ever listen to that?
I did, and I've heard a lot of versions of the story, but yes, go ahead.
Sure. But it's more about like Draymond's kind of biggest insecurity, what he's expressed to people is like about money, essentially. So like tying that together, it is interesting. The reason he might hate Gobert so much is just because he's like, I'm the same type of player as this dude, and I'm better at what I do than he is. And he has more depoys and he makes more money. So now like all the anger and the hatred and the choke, like it all makes a lot more sense viewing it from that light.
No, it's very much he has 4 and I have 1. But if I talk to every coach and every player in this league, they would rather have me than him. They think I'm a better defender than him, which is just a factual statement over the last decade. Maybe you think Gobert is better now. You didn't think Gobert was better in 2020. You didn't think Gobert was better in 2018, 2022, whatever it may be, right? Like that sort of thing. And then the depoys lead to, well, I've won 3 of them. You got to give me more money than that. And so it ends up in this, but it gets to the point where, he's only comparing himself to guys who he considers like same role as me. He's not out here going, Devin Booker got 70 a year. He hasn't won 4 titles, because it's just like,
or Clay got 40. He wasn't ever comparing his number to Clay's. Like he didn't. I don't think he ever wanted 40 million a year, even though Clay got it on the same team. Like even though him and Clay are kind of just as important during the dynasty years, he understood what they provided was different, and how the league views it is different, right? So yeah, and go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, and like to the Clay point, it was like the classic, he still sees himself like the Devin Bookers and those guys.
Yeah.
And he wasn't ready to let that go in that moment. And he felt like he was being treated, disrespectfully compared to other guys. And, that's I kind of miss Clay. I'm gonna be honest with you. I actually don't even know if I want him on the team basketball wise, but I do like wish it didn't break up the way it did.
Yeah, it sucks. Did you did you see the picture of him floating around the internet today?
I did. He's got over it,
Look, man, Clay can be as moody as he wants, but I will never tears won't drop for Clay in terms of like the way he gets to live his life. I'll leave it at that. Like, yeah, I understand his frustrations from a basketball standpoint, but everything else he does, no, I'm not shedding a tear.
That's actually kind of part of the reason I kind of miss him. It's like I say that sort of stuff. I'm just like,
yeah,
man, miss when he was on my team. Just
legend,
the goat of all goats.
Yeah,
appreciate all the questions in the chat. By the way, we're gonna get to them later on.
Definitely.
Before we get to them, guys. By the way, did you watch the Dodgers-Brewers game yesterday?
I caught a little bit of it, not as much as I wanted, but Mizorowski, he's unbelievable, man. He's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
He just
Dude.
absolute heat.
I mean, there's like a handful of young pitchers, like Skeens is the most famous, where it's just like they're kind of must see. Like you kind of like when they're starting, you're like I'm gonna watch this right now. But he's on another level, and what I'm getting
so funky. The release is so funky.
It's kind of like DeGrom, but it's it's there's a lot of DeGrom to him. But what I was gonna say is one, insane that Shohei took him deep and he just struck out like 6 guys in a row right afterwards. Perfect advertisement for the MLB. That entire thing where it's like this guy is on a different level, but we got young guys who do things you've never seen. Like, what is a 97 mile per hour slider? What is a 90 mile per hour curveball? Like some of those pitches are like, what do you do with this? What is this?
You don't get it.
All of this is to say, I am mad at myself that I did not take the more on his 6 strikeouts. 6. He had 12 through 5 innings. I can't even remember what he ended at. And that is the fun of Prize Picks, guys. Basketball season is over. The action doesn't stop on Prize Picks because baseball is heating up. Step up to the plate, Prize Picks, and add your favorite baseball players to your lineup. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, total strikeouts, make your call on more or less and play for your shot to win up to 2,000x your cash. Mizorowski, the line, it was pick more or less on 6 strikeouts. He did that by the 2nd inning. Like it's just like, yeah. Sometimes you see that, you're like, when I saw that, I was like, look, the Dodgers lineup's good, but this guy just Ks everyone when he pitches. I knew, but I got a little scared, and now I'm here talking about all my bad decisions. So anyway, guys, Prize Picks is the best way to get on real money this summer. Do not be like me. Trust your gut. Go with it. Win 2,000x your cash today. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports takes into real money all season long. Guys, download the app today. Use the code LIGHTYEARS. And here's the best part. You get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LIGHTYEARS, and you get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. Prize Picks, run your game.
Light Years Podcast. We are brought to you by LinkedIn. As a small business owner, you don't have the luxury of clocking out early. Your business is on your mind 24/7. So when you're hiring, you need a partner that grinds just as hard as you do. That hiring partner is LinkedIn Jobs. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates that you can manage all in one place. At the end of the day, the most important thing to your small business is the quality of your candidates. And with LinkedIn, you can feel confident that you're getting the best. Let your network know that you're hiring. You can even add a hashtag hiring frame to your profile and get 2x more qualified candidates. Find out why more than 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring today. Find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lightyears. That is linkedin.com/lightyears to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, so we're going to Summer League. Going to Summer League tomorrow. Going to be sweating it out in 107. Heat.
85 at night. It's going to be miserable.
Bro, whatever. I think the most interesting thing right now is the restricted free agency market.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously focus on Kuminga, but Josh Giddey, Cam Thomas, Quentin Grimes, these are all really good players.
Mm-hmm.
They're all good players. None of them are signed. And the interesting thing is it seems like there's no progress on any of them. Everything you hear about is like Summer League. Let's see what happens with them. Let's see if there's motion in the market.
I mean,
so here's my question for you. The first part of restricted free agency is like there's just no cap space out there. There's no obvious market, but Bobby Marks pointed this out, and I thought it was a really smart point. There's only been like 2 offer sheets in the last 4 years. Like traditionally, teams don't do the whole Kuminga got to restricted free agency. We're going to throw this offer in front of him and make the Warriors sweat. Because usually teams match it, that sort of thing. So if you take that off the table, saying those things don't exist, I guess my question for you is, why has it been so hard for these guys to find numbers that both sides find palatable, or trades? Like, because you can look at it two ways. One way is the Warriors and Kuminga agree on numbers. The other is other teams agree on numbers that they think are fair for Kuminga, and then they work out a trade for the Warriors. And it's not unique to him. It seems to be the case for Giddey, Cam Thomas, and Quentin Grimes too. It seems like the entire league has a different idea of these guys' worth compared to whatever they think their worth is.
Yeah, it seems like, well, number one, I kind of think like, are the Warriors operating in a way that teams operated 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago? Because like now it seems like teams just lock up the asset and then it's like, we'll deal with it later. And that's not only restricted free agency. That's like even like, stars, superstars. Let's get them signed to an extension and then we'll deal with, we just don't want to lose the asset. Right. And
Right.
if you look at the recent Warriors history, there's just been too much losing of assets. We can go back to 2021 with this, go back to Oubre, and a lot of that was like a cap reason, but like they just let Oubre walk for nothing. GP2 walks for nothing. Wiseman walks for like, I guess you trade Wiseman for 5 first-round picks.
But a very underwhelming return in context of,
or second-round picks, excuse me. But yes. But I think the point is like teams are doing a better job of managing their assets. CP3 walks for nothing. Like I'm looking at the recent asset management and it's just like, this is really how are you operating like this in 2025? And it like, you look at the other teams that are right now have restricted free agents that they haven't agreed to a deal with, and they might not get anything back for them if they don't manage the situation right. It's the Warriors, it's the Bulls, it's the Nets, and it's the Sixers. And like, you can accuse all of these teams, besides maybe the Sixers, of not managing their assets well in recent history. So if we're just going to look at it strictly from a Warriors POV, then I don't want to be associated with the Bulls and the Nets in terms of asset management. Like, and that kind of scares me as a Warriors fan. Like, is this what we have to look forward to? A team that doesn't know how to manage their assets?
I have a different way of looking at it than you. Not that I disagree with you on the asset point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a bunch of players who are imperfect, who I think 15 to 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, teams would be way more excited about dealing with what is a new NBA, which is in the modern NBA, particularly with the cap structure, there are superstars and there are guys who buy into versatility roles. The OKC Thunder are a great example, but look at the Dynasty Warriors. They're also, pretty much every good team is this way. Shea is a superstar. Jalen Williams is a star, but he's a two-way player. Yeah. Everyone else on their team, like, is Caruso more talented with the ball than Cam Thomas or Quentin Grimes?
No, not even close.
Right. Is Lou Dort?
Nope.
But who fits better as a third or fourth option on a team trying to contend?
It's easy. I mean, it's obviously Dort or Caruso or whoever else you want to name.
So I feel like the market right now these days is basically like, if you're a star, you get a max. We just saw Orlando do this with Paulo, and I'm not even a huge Paulo guy, but like they're planting their flag on Paulo being a superstar, right? Mm-hmm. And then around those guys, they just want a bunch of KCPs. They want a bunch of Carusos. They want a bunch of guys who slot into a role, even if those guys are less talented in a traditional sense in terms of what they can do with the ball than Cam Thomas or Quentin Grimes. And I think, honestly, Kuminga falls into that same category. Kuminga wants to be the man. I don't think the league thinks he's the man.
Clearly not.
But the league's not convinced, although he has the physical skill set to be, a third. He has a physical skill set to be like an Aaron Gordon and Andrew Wiggins, where you're a third, fourth option, but clearly your primary value to the team is defense, and then it's playing off of your stars on offense, right? Like he has the skill set to grow into being that player, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But he doesn't want to be that player. But he doesn't want to be that player. And so that's what's leading to the stalemate, because teams are slotting him as that player where they're like, we'll pay you, as if you're close to that guy, even though you're not that guy yet, because we think you're going to be that guy. And he's sitting here going, but I'm a star. I want to be a star player. And I think someone like Cam Thomas, honestly, similar story. He's looking at this and going, I can get a bucket with these guys who are getting 25, 30 million. Why am I being asked to take 15? I think it's the league redefining the way they value players. And these guys are stuck with kind of a traditionalist mindset where they don't want to accept that. Because, like, to the point, Kuminga did score 30 in a playoff game. Now you can say, who cares? You lost that game when it got to like, kind of like not crunch time, and like, he couldn't get a shot off. All those things. From his perspective, he's going, none of you motherfuckers could get a shot off. I could, that, like, the mentality I'm talking about.
Totally. But I think the funny thing about that is, like, you're comparing Kuminga to an Aaron Gordon or Andrew Wiggins. Like, look at what those guys got when they bought in and accepted their role. Wiggins got what, 4/118 as the last extension. Aaron Gordon got 4/133 for buying into, like, being a third option. I mean,
OG got 4/150 or 160.
Yeah. And Chet's a different thing. Chet, like, projects as more of a superstar. Chet just got, like, a max contract extension, but, like, it's not because he can score. Like, I think there's obviously a lot of projection happening with Chet. The offensive game is going to grow. The shot's going to come around a little bit. The handle's going to get better. He's going to fill out. But he got that contract because he's, like, one of the best rim protectors in the league. And again, I've said this so
versatile,
many times.
By the way.
Versatile.
Chet got that because you can't pick on him in the finals, which is like the ultimate, like, oh, he could protect the rim and he could switch on the perimeter.
Yep. And Chet didn't have, like,
there's six centers who can do that in the league right now.
And Chet didn't have some amazing final scoring the ball. He wasn't, like, super efficient, but I mean, he kicked Miles Turner's ass all series. And Miles Turner is a very nice player. He's not a world beater, but Miles Turner still got 4 years, 105 million or whatever it was, a week ago. So the point is, like you said, these guys are all versatile and they're willing to buy into a role. That'll still get you paid in this league. But it's like, I think your general point is here, like, if you're not willing to buy into a role, if you're not the superstar, then the league just doesn't have value for you at this point. Like, if you're hell-bent on being a star and you're not quite that level, like, clearly, you're kind of screwed. And Kuminga and Giddey are looking at the guys that were drafted in their range in their class, and they're probably thinking, I should get, 5.
Jalen Green?
Yeah.
And to be fair, like, I don't know that Jalen Green's better than him. I think he just ninja'd his agent better. He got a better situation right there,
Yeah. And he signed for a shorter, he's 3 years, 106, and he got it done early. He got it done when the money was on the table, as I said earlier. So, yeah, it's really interesting, and I think a lot of it just is the new CBA. Teams are less willing to take risks on players they're unsure about. It might just come down to that. But, yeah, it's – I can't remember being this deep into free agency and having this many restricted free agencies, just still kind of, like, waiting to see where they're going to play at.
They're all good players. Like, yeah, if I got Cam Thomas on the Warriors for $30 million, I'd be pretty unhappy. But if I got Cam Thomas on the Warriors – contract aside, I'd be very happy because he addresses like 4 different issues they have right now. Yep. One being no one other than Steph can dribble the ball. So,
yeah. I think a lot of it, the NBA just has less tolerance for not accepting your role. Like, we'll find another guy who will do this for half the price. Maybe he's not as talented as you, but we know he's going to show up and do the same things every night, and we'll take our chances with the other stuff. Like, that's what OKC's kind of done.
Isn't, like, drafting Will Richards kind of an example of this too, where I feel like traditionally teams would just reach for talent and make the assumption that the man who was the man on his college team will eventually understand, I can no longer be the man, and now I need to be the glue guy, right? Like, it's a pure talent thing. Like, let's get 12 guys who are all alphas on their college team, and then the cream will rise to the top, and the guy who averaged 18 on his college team, who's awesome, is going to realize the only way I stick in this league is if I, lock into being a glue guy. Now it just feels like teams are like, why? Why would I not just figure out who is the best KCP light in college? Now I'm going to draft him because he knows what his role is, and he's trying to be the best version of that role. And he's been trying to be the best version of that role for like 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the guy who kind of, is the man taking 20 shots a game, like, are we sure? We sure he can even do that if we asked him to? Like, are we sure his skill set is made for that? Like, I get he's better with the ball, and if it's a game of one-on-one, he's clearly the better player. But are we sure if we ask him to, he can be a better defender than this guy?
Teams are just smarter about team building, and like I said, less tolerance for bullshit. And to your point about the draft, I think it's a really good point to make, because I saw a stat floating around Twitter the other day. Like one of the draft Twitter guys that I follow, I can't remember who. I wish I could shout him out. It was the least amount of one.
Credit.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad about it. I'll try to link the tweet later if I find it. It was the least amount of one and dones ever taken in the second, or like in 20 years taken in the second round. I want to say since 2005. And to your point, teams are they're not taking those home run swings in the second round anymore. They're just not. It's like, okay, let's get a guy that fills a role that we are obviously, nothing's a sure bet in the draft, but we're pretty damn sure. Like after even watching just a couple Will Richard games in summer league, I'm like, all right, I think by maybe December, January, that guy could play 8 minutes in an NBA game. He's not going to make mistakes. He can make an open shot. He's going to play super hard defensively. He's going to be in the right spots. He's going to move the ball to where it needs to go. And then, well, hopefully our superstars can figure, our best guys can figure out the rest. But you don't have to worry about like, oh, he's going to miss that rotation. He's going to turn the ball over 3 times in 8 minutes. Like teams just don't have tolerance for that on the back end of their roster anymore.
Someone I talked to who worked around a team was like, look, man, if you simplify it, it's just a job interview. And if you think of it that way, Will Richards is interviewing for GP2's job.
Yeah.
He's not interviewing for Klay Thompson's job. He's not interviewing for Jay Butler, Steph Curry's job. He's interviewing for GP2's job. And to your point, I don't expect him to be GP2 next year because that's very unrealistic for a rookie. But could you not see him giving you GP2 type energy and minutes January, February?
Sure.
I could. Like just watching him, I'm like, he's an older player. He gets his role. I think the shot's real. I think he can do it. And like to that point, they hit on that with Trace and Quentin Post. Both guys, neither of those guys are going in there being like, you know what? I'm gonna be Hakeem. Throw it to me in the post. I'm gonna show you the dream shake. No, they understood. Like in Trace's case, he's like, I'm gonna defend, rebound, and
dunk,
dive to the rim hard, right? And in Quentin Post's case, it's like, I'm going to try to defend. I'm going to try to rebound. I'm going to pop. I'm going to, run some DHOs. I'm going to hit the open 3 every time. He knew his role. Like he's not interested in trying to be Jokic. I'm sure like in pickup game, he wants to be Jokic, but like he understands the NBA. My role is going to be made on being the guy who hits open 3s and just competes hard enough at everything.
Yeah, and there is a certain amount, I think, or like a certain amount of bias against taking 4-year guys in like the first round. And I do understand that bias to a certain point. You want more potential, you want more years to develop these guys, whatever. But in the second round, it's like you want that guy who's been in college for a long time, because he's probably taken more lumps. You know what I mean? He might have, especially in this current college environment, he probably went to a different school. It didn't work out. Now he's got to go somewhere else. He's probably playing a different role at that new school.
He played a year of basketball with a mask on,
Yeah,
he's been in some weird situations, dude.
Totally. But like, you've just been through more of the battles. You've been through more of the wars, and like, life in basketball is punch you in the mouth a little bit. So when you get to the league, you don't have like these delusions of grandeur relative to a 19-year-old kid coming in who is the man on G League Elite. And it's like, okay, yeah, first year Steph's the guy, but like year 2, like it's probably going to be my team. Like that guy's Will Richards not coming in and doing that. Alex,
clear out.
Get out
time.
of the way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Trace Jackson Davis isn't coming in and doing that. So yeah, I think it's a really good point. And I do think we'll continue to see a trend in that direction when it comes to the draft. Cause like, why would you want the headache with a second round pick? He's gonna be making $2 million. He's not even necessarily on a fully guaranteed contract. So
and I think the last point I want to make on this is it's valuing other skill sets. Because like to your point, none of these guys have the first step of Kuminga. None of these guys can get into the paint the way he can. That's just a fact. They like, that's not their game. That's not their game. But like, they excel at other things. Will Richard is phenomenal at guarding on an island. Like he might be able to guard point guards in the NBA day one. That's hard. That's very hard to do, Yeah. And like traditionally, we've just kind of gone to like get the athlete with the mega first step and we'll teach him how to do everything. Now teams are like, I don't know, man. Maybe I should put value in the fact that he did that in the fucking Final Four. Maybe I should put value in the fact that he's shown he can do that stuff and, probably never be a 20-point scorer in the NBA, but he can be a guy who can help my team because he's exceptionally good at things that matter in terms of what you want in your 10-man rotation.
Yeah. And, I think what people have, undervalued or what people have misevaluated for years is how like people think it's easy to teach effort or to teach somebody how to guard or to teach somebody to be constantly mentally locked. It's like they think it's easy.
Defense is just effort. And it's like, no.
It is, but like effort is a skill. Like you can go to like any game at a park, a college game, a high school game. Like there are certain guys who play really hard and there are certain guys who don't. Like one of Cooper Flagg's biggest skills as a player is he is constantly playing basically as hard as he possibly can. He's constantly in the right spots. There's a lot of guys
competitiveness,
super competitive that have very similar athletic gifts to Cooper. And obviously the feel and this, he's super talented as well. But the reason he was the surefire number one pick is because he did all the role player things and he can do the superstar things. That's why he's so special. But it's not easy to teach the super talented guy to do the role player things. Like it's almost just as hard to teach a superstar talent guy to do that as it is to teach a guy who's not that talented to be a superstar in terms of skill set. Like it's hard to cross that line. And that's why the superstars are so special because they can tie it all together. So yeah, I am enjoying kind of this new philosophy and how smart NBA teams are approaching the draft now. And there's always going to be busts and misses, but teams are generally getting smarter about it. And it's only going to raise the level of the league overall.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching Kirk Lacob give an interview around the Pajemski draft, talking about how they put more emphasis on competitiveness now. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't help but think of that and be like, I feel like that's a backhanded comment to your past fuck ups. But his entire point was like, none of it matters if a guy isn't just wired a certain way. Like there's no like motivational speech you can give to make a guy a certain way. They're either wired that way or they aren't. Part of the playoff Jimmy and the reason I will continually believe in Jimmy, even though he's getting older and there's moments he looks older, is like, he's got that mental thing, that competitive itch that top 1% guys have. It's the same reason you love Draymond. It's
Steph, Clay, and his peak.
Now I'm thinking about Pod saying we're a team full of alphas, and I just want to laugh. But it is kind of like that whole point where it's just like you can't teach that at a certain point, and it's not everything because at a certain point you need a certain level of skill, size, and athleticism. But also, none of the other stuff matters if you don't have that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I talked about this during the finals. Every guy on the floor was a dog. Every single guy. Like, both teams played so goddamn hard the entire finals. And obviously the Pacers go down because Halliburton gets hurt. You just don't have enough talent. The talent still matters. But I don't think you ever had to question for any moment for either team if like some guy's heart was in the game or if they were playing hard enough to win the series. And yeah, it's become more of an important skill where I think maybe you could get away with like, one or two or three guys who are just kind of like out there mentally before. You can't do it like that anymore.
Well, it comes down to like, the answer. And I'm just going to say it. It's like, it's come down to coaching being smarter because everyone's just mismatch hunting the entire game. Mm-hmm. So if you think there's someone whose head's in the clouds, the motherfucker's getting run through every action. Yeah. And whatever their weakness is, maybe their weakness isn't guarding one-on-one. Their weakness is you get them on the weak side. You run 2 brush screens. They're going to fucking fall asleep. You're doing that all game. Yep. And that's like really what it comes down to, which is why I kind of feel like OKC is an evolution of the Warriors defensively, where it's just kind of like you got your superstar, and then you just want superstar plus guys with no weaknesses. That's it, and you're gonna live with what happens. If Shea doesn't deliver, so be it. But just give me dudes who grind and don't make mistakes around him, and I'll take my chances.
Yeah, and you hope your Jalen Williams or your Clay is good enough to go off for 2 of the 7 games or 2 of the 6 games.
And they're going to hit enough shots or whatever their version of hitting enough shots is, right?
Yeah, because it's like we're just betting on guys who we know are going to be there effort and mentally. Like that's just what it comes down to. And I mean, I personally enjoy that more. So as much as I do bitch about the modern league sometimes, I do think it's headed in a good direction.
Well, it's like it's just a while the style is different, the mentality and like the overall ethos is just the same. You know, it's like, are you going to be there for every possession? Are you going to be locked in every possession? And eventually, the mentality is if you're locked in every possession, you're playing your ass off. Shots are going to eventually go down. You know, and you know better than anyone. You know, it's like it's fucking lonely when they don't go down for a very long time. Like it's hard to hold the effort the extended period of time. That's like always been one of my favorite things about someone like Klay Thompson, where it's just like you can't really break him mentally. You can't really get into his head. You're not going to affect his defensive effort when he's not hitting shots. He's not going to like shrug his shoulders and start like walking the other way because he missed shots. Sometimes I wish he would because he'd shoot too much. But like, you know what I'm saying? It's like that is kind of just a winning mentality thing where it's just kind of like, I'm going to compete the entire game, and I trust at some point it's going to come from me offensively. It's tough. It's a tough mentality.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that the Warriors drafted a guy like Will Richard. You know, like it is nice. No, seriously though, like
yeah,
like it's an exciting, like it's not going to wow anybody. It's not going to be impressive, but I do feel like there will be a night in January where like there's 4 or 5 guys out and he comes in and he hits a couple threes and makes a key defensive play. And you're like, oh, I'm glad we have that guy on the roster. It just makes you feel more comfortable about, especially with an older team, of like lasting through that regular season slog. Cause that is one of the biggest things. I really do have faith if they put the right, like just a couple nice pieces to fill out this roster and they get Steph and Jimmy and Draymond to the playoffs healthy and relatively rested, they have a shot to beat anybody. I truly believe that, but you have to get there. And these guys are not getting any younger.
Before we get out of here, I want to ask you this. This is kind of a simplistic question, but so the names we keep hearing about right now, the sexy names, they're Al Horford, Bradley Beal. I realize I just said sexy and Al Horford. I started laughing to myself. Like, you know what I mean? Okay, Al Horford, Bradley Beal, DeAnthony Melton. Okay. Of those 3, rank them in order of, because like obviously I want the Warriors to figure out a way to get all 3 of them, but rank them in terms of this needs to be the highest priority.
Ooh, the highest? I mean, God, I always do these cop-out answers. I'd go like Horford, Beal, 1A, 1B. Because I feel more comfortable about finding a dirty work guy like Melton than I do about finding, honestly, a big man like Horford at this point, considering what's on the market. Like, I know people like Chris Boucher. He's a solid player.
They like the idea of him. You're not watching every game, dude.
Thank you. Nobody's grinding Raptors tape like we are. You're not watching the January game.
And to be honest, you shouldn't be grinding Raptors tape. Do not do it, guys.
It's a miserable existence. You don't want to watch Magic Raptors in January 12th. But like Horford he's such a good fit. And I know he's old, but we can talk about it till we're blue in the face. They have not had a guy like this on the roster, maybe ever. Like the big man who can defend and shoot. All the big men they've had that can shoot can't really defend unless you want to consider Otto a big, you know, which he kind of was by the time he got to the Warriors, but they've never really had this archetype. And I would be very excited to see that if he can stay healthy. And Beal, there's a lot of warts with Beal, but goddamn, he's still talented. If you're telling me that you could get him to buy in, and that's an if with him, but I think if you get him around Steph and Dre and Jimmy, he has no choice. Kevin Durant's not his leader in Golden State. Steph Curry's his leader. Draymond Green's his leader. Jimmy Butler's his leader. And
he's also just so much better than like Jordan Clarkson or like some of the names that are being floated out there. He can close games.
Oh, yeah.
Clarkson's not closing games.
No, you're worried. Like, Beal is still a really good player. He's not what he was when he was averaging 30 a game, but he's still a very, very good, like at the very least, he's an incredible 6-man. And if you get him to really buy into doing the little things and playing defense, he's got good size. He's got good length for a 2-guard. He could be your starter, you know? So it's him and Horford. And if you had to make me pick, I would say Horford over Beal, and then you try to figure out the scoring somewhere else. But if it ends up, and I think Beal's probably going to the Clippers. But if it ends up being Beal over Horford, I'm not mad. And then Melton, I would love to have Melton back, but at the same time, I go get Amir Coffee instead. Go get somebody else who can kind of do all that dirty work. They might
Will
not
Richard.
Will Richard, baby, it's Will Richard season. He's going to be in the top 8 of the rotation by November.
I do think both Beal and Horford represent two archetypes we've been dying for, which is like a big who fits the system, but also can hang defensively. Like right. Quentin Post fits the system, but like, he's not playing more than 15 minutes because he can't defend in any capacity. Horford is still a very good defender, very smart player, very physical defender. He knows how to hang out there. Would be a dream because he can push Draymond to the 4. That's awesome. And then Beal, it's the opposite, which is just like multifaceted scoring, wing, guard, someone who can take offensive pressure off of Steph. So
and Jimmy. And taking offensive scoring pressure off of Jimmy during the regular season. I think that's huge too. I think what I really like about either one of those moves is like you're either taking pressure off of Draymond with Horford, or you're taking pressure off of Jimmy to score with Beal. And then Jimmy can like really get into his Iguodala bag, and we can hear Kerr wax poetic once a week about how Jimmy, he's just such a smart basketball player. He does so many winning things.
I know he only scored 7 points, but if you watch the game, he was
he was the best player. He connected everything for us tonight. He was spectacular. So either way, one of those moves is so pressure relieving for one of our main guys that I think they'd be huge. But yeah, I mean, either one would excite the hell out of me. So just get one of them done, man.
I will say this also about Beal. Like, part of our concern with the Warriors is too much pressure on Steph and Jimmy in the regular season. Beal is not young, but he's also not old. If you rotate the 3 of those guys effectively, you have 2 pretty good scorers most nights.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty exciting. I think you can win a ton of games with Beal and Jimmy and no Steph. Can't win playoff games, but you can, if you want to rest Steph on a back-to-back, a Pods, Beal, Jimmy, fill out your lineup. Like you're good enough to compete with that. And then at the same time, Jimmy wants a night off. Steph and Beal, like, you got enough firepower to get done that way. You got enough ball handling, you got enough playmaking. And then you get to playoffs when you have all 3, then you're really dangerous. So I don't know. I feel like I actually kind of go Beal over Horford, even though I want both. But I guess my lame answer is just give me fucking both. Mike, figure it out. Figure it out, bro.
Push come to shove, I think I'll go Horford because he's a more reliable person. Yeah, he's more reliable in your locker room. You're not going to worry about him. He's still really damn good. He takes the pressure off of Draymond. Maybe you can
Looney with the 3.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that really is the comparison, though. Like, he's a very similar presence and player, at least like the way he moves, his defensive skill set, but he just has a little bit more to the offensive game, obviously. Yeah. And for people, there's a lot of people, kind of crapping on Beal in the comments. Like, the guy still scored 20 plus in like 40% of his games last year. He was 17 points on 50, 39, 80. Like, he can still really, really score the basketball.
I do love that he got, like, people shit on him, but I mean, I'm not even going to go on KD, but like Devin Booker, man.
But it's also the team build. Like, why?
Well,
Devin Booker and Beal are the same player. They're the same player.
Why are people going off on Beal not buying into do the little things, but they're cool with Devin Booker floating when we just saw him with Team USA show that he's very capable of being a more complete player. You watch him in Phoenix, bro, he's just getting his shots up and vibing. That's it. He doesn't give a fuck, It doesn't matter. He's a god. He's a god there. He gets to get away with it. But I'm just saying, like, Beal, because they should have never traded for Beal, because this is the most predictable outcome of 3 dudes who want to be the scorer. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like he got kind of shit on in the blame when, like, the blame should have been equally distributed among 3. It's like, I don't know, dude. You guys are all just as capable of defending as Beal is. You guys are all just as capable of doing the little things as him. Why does he have to be the only one who does the little things while you guys stand on the perimeter? It's basketball. Everyone should fucking try to get a rebound,
Yep. So. I mean, it goes back to the conversation we just had, right? About, teams don't win anymore unless everybody is willing to do those things. And that clearly has not been the case in Phoenix. So I take either. I think we could just leave it at that. Like, I would take either guy for sure.
He's gonna go through the Pajemski school of guard rebounding. I'm sure Beal will love pods just up his ass about you gotta be more aware when the ball bounces.
They will Beal will want to fight pods at some point during the season if he ends up.
That's actually one of my favorite things about Beal. Like he's kind of a fucking dick. He's kind of scrappy that way.
Perfect. We need more of that. Like I'm not mad at another guy who like actually kind of is willing to fight somebody, but yeah, I think he's gonna be a fucking Clipper, unfortunately, and that won't work either. That won't work. So I'm fine with that.
Oh no, there's zero chance. They're gonna win the offseason for the 100th time. They're gonna have their March run where they go 15-1, and everyone's like, Clippers, and then it's gonna be the playoffs, and Kawhi's gonna be like, Hammy can't do this, and
they're gonna lose in Game 7 by 40 again. That's just who they are mentally.
Classic. All right, appreciate everyone. We're getting out of here.
Thanks, everybody.